exactly how you feel right now. That tension between loving the idea of having a steady paycheck coming in every 2 weeks, but then also that deep desire to not have to depend on one. I completely understand because I was there. I know what that tension is like, that intersection between paycheck and purpose. You know that the work that you're doing right now in your career isn't truly aligned with your purpose work. There's this inner gut feeling, you know that. And so this is why you even started your business, why you started coaching in the first place. But when you've been programmed through society to go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, work a good job for 40 years, and then, get 2 weeks off every year for vacation, and then retire at 67 now and live off of 40% of your income. Like, when you've been programmed through societal programming, through the school system to work a job, it's a scary thing to go outside of the norms and start your business, right? And so in this live, I'm going to be breaking down how I was able to overcome that tension and how I also help other coaches and my other clients to really be able to overcome that tension of their desire and their fears of actually stepping into that desire and really transitioning fully from their 9 to 5 into coaching full time. All right. And so for those of you who are not familiar with me, welcome back to my channel. My name is Janel Ranée, and on the Daily Dose, it's an acronym for Divine Overflow of Spirit-Led Empowerment, where I just sit with the Lord, and whatever the Lord puts on my heart to share is what I share in overflow to you. So the Daily Dose is really empowerment, encouragement, and equipping for you to really be able to transition into coaching full time without chasing clients, without sacrificing time with your family, without self-sabotage, or without fighting the algorithm. Okay. And so we're going to jump into how to transition from your 9 to 5 into coaching full time. But before we do that, I have an exercise for you. I do have a journal prompt, and I really want you to really think about this. Okay. Think about this, because this statement right here is a statement that I use to help my clients to really be able to bring up to the surface any subconscious blocks, any subconscious belief blocks that is hindering what they truly desire, right? So I want you to answer this question. I want blank, but I don't want blank. So an example for this is, I want the freedom, the flexibility, the fulfillment of stepping into my coaching business full time, right? Leaving my 9 to 5. However, I don't want to have to chase clients. I don't want to have to hustle and grind and be so uncertain of where my next increase is coming from, right? Like, I want to go full time, but I don't want to have more stress and more responsibility and less time with my children, right? I don't want to have less peace. And you want that full-time entrepreneurship, but these are the surface, the underlying things that aren't even up to your surface level yet. It's not in your conscious awareness. So even though consciously you want to be full-time, you want to live life on your own terms, you want your own business, and you don't want to rely on this paycheck, underneath the surface, the subconscious, you're having that doubt. You're having the thought of, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to be hustling and struggling for money, right? So your body doesn't feel safe. And so for you to truly be able to successfully transition, you must feel safe. And so that is the acronym that I have for you. Okay. For you to transition into coaching full time, you have to feel safe. You got to feel safe. And I'm going to break this acronym down for you and really walk you through the steps to really be able to bridge the gap so that you can finally transition into coaching full time. But don't forget, I want you to do this work. All right. I want you to do this work. And you can even put it in the comment section if you'd like. but really sit with your journal and answer this question, okay? Because whatever that surface level is, whatever that I don't want, right? Whatever that is the block. That is the sabotaging block that's hindering you from really stepping forth and going full time. All right. And so, like I said, to successfully transition, you must feel safe. Your body has to feel safe. So the S in the SAFE acronym is surrender over security, right? So what the world calls security, God calls stagnation. And so my example for this was, as a registered nurse for many, many years, my dream career, all I ever wanted to do ever since I was a little girl was to be a nurse. And I was able to achieve that goal, right? To really achieve my dream career. And then years in, I was just like, okay, this is not all of what I want. Like, I just couldn't see myself clocking in, to a time clock for the rest of my life, but I had no idea like what else I would be doing. And so I really felt confined to the four walls of the hospital. And I'm like, okay, I went to school for this. I worked so hard for my degree. I love nursing. I love my patients. I just hated being cornered in. I hated not being able to just make my own decisions on like when I wanted to work and when I didn't want to work. Like, granted, yeah, you get vacation time, but you know what I mean? I wanted a life of freedom. I didn't want to be away from my children for 12 hours, multiple days a week. I wanted that freedom to be present with my children and my family, my husband. I wanted to be able to vacation freely whenever I wanted. I didn't want a financial cap either. And so I knew I wanted to start a business. And ultimately, in hindsight, I realized, okay, the four walls of the hospital felt confined because the Lord was actually calling me to the four walls of the world, right? The four corners of the world, I should say. And I've been able to coach women all over the world. And it's just such a blessing to be able to do the work that I do as a coach and to really help other women to build their businesses and heal as they heal their belief blocks and their nervous system as they build their business, so that they're able to build on a solid foundation and really have really be able to build on the safety, right? To be able to sustain the business that they've been praying to God for, right? To be able to sustain the business that God truly wants to bless them with. But it really requires your belief system to be expanded, right? So that you can believe what God wants to bestow onto you, and also your body safety. So this is why I do the work that I do, right? And so it's really important that you understand that what the world called security, God is calling stagnation. And I'm a living testimony to that. All right. And so when you craft your signature framework, you take your years of experience, you can take your expertise in your career and just the things that you've gone through, your education, your essence, when you craft that into a signature framework to be able to help others solve their problem, and you package that into a premium offer, this is giving you the clarity and confidence to build your coaching business while still working your 9 to 5, so you can transition with peace and not panic. And so the reason why I always suggest my clients to start with their premium offer is because oftentimes I call it the eagle effect. So you don't want to operate like a pigeon. This is the analogy that I received, but it's like, you want to think of it like eagles. They fly high, they soar high, they have a vision, they're higher up, right? And pigeons, they pick around. I grew up in New York, so there would always be a bunch of pigeons on the ground, like picking at scraps on the floor. And so this is a visual, like this depiction of high ticket versus low ticket. And especially in the very beginning, you want to aim high. You want to start high. You want to have a 4-figure premium offer to start with, so that this way you can transition into full-time coaching faster, because now all you need, like, say for instance, your monthly income right now at your career, say it's like $6,000 is what you need per month, right? So if you created an offer, say your offer was on the low end, like $3,000, right? You would only need 2 clients a month, right? And so when you break it down that way, this is why I have my clients start with a premium offer. This is the eagle effect, right? And so when you craft your signature framework, you have confidence, and you have clarity on the steps that you're taking your clients through your framework, and having them build trust in you as their coach and as their guide, because now they see that you have a process, you have a system. And so this is what's going to allow them to trust you, to know, like, and trust you to guide them through the transformation that you're going to be guiding them through, right? They're going to want to hire you as their coach because it's what you've actually lived through. You're not just teaching theory. You're not just teaching something that you read in a textbook, but you're combining all of your years of experience, your actual expertise, your education. You're combining all of that, right, into your offer and packaging it into a premium offer. Okay. And so that's the S. Surrender to what the will of the Lord is for your life over security, right? Because these jobs, they claim to be security, but they're not. They're not, because you can get the pink slip at any moment. And you'll never really be wealthy working a 9 to 5. Like, you need multiple streams of income. The Bible actually even tells us that. All right. And so that's the S. So now we're going to jump into the A. Assignments over approval. Ooh, man, I was stuck here for a long time. I was so afraid of people's opinions, right? But you can't people please and pursue purpose at the same time. You cannot. You have to get over, like, what people are going to think, what your coworkers are going to think, what your family members are going to think. Like, yeah, they can stay in the societal trap if they want to, but God is calling you beyond that, right? And you know that. And so for you to do that, you gotta be able to answer this assignment on your life without worrying about the approval of others. Okay. And so right now you're building your business and you want to speak about your business. You want to talk about your business or your faith and your coaching, and you want to be bold. You want to put yourself out there, but you start to shrink back. You shrink back because you're worried about what your coworkers are going to think, or you're worried about what your friends might think about your new business. And so your message, it just, it stays stuck in your draft section in your phone. And, you don't really put it out there because you're hesitant. But, inside of my Business by Belief Accelerator, I help my clients to really be able to master magnetic story selling. So that you have messaging that actually converts your clients, right? It's so important to just be able to sell with stories. Stories is what sells. People want to see themselves in your story. They want to see how it's called mirror neurons. So when they see how you've been able to triumph over your trial, and you're speaking to the trial that they're currently in, they're going to see you as their guide, right? And I call this my treasure trial framework, where I help you to be able to take a trial that you've gone through and really find the treasure in it, and you create a trail for someone else. And so this is how we create your signature framework, which we previously discussed. But you want to make sure that you develop the messaging behind it, right? So you want to speak to your clients. Okay, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? What actions are they taking? What actions are they not taking? This is how you build that story selling messaging that really magnetize your best clients to you, right? So when you learn how to speak with conviction and attract the clients God assigned to you, no approval is needed. You don't have to worry about the approvals of your family members or your coworkers or your bosses or anything. You don't have to worry about them, because you're doing your God-given assignment and you are called to the people God has called you to serve inside of your coaching business. And so the A is answer the assignment on your life and don't worry about the approval of others. And inside of the Business by Belief Accelerator, this is what I help you to do: mastering your story, mastering story selling, so that you can really be able to connect and convert your audience. They're going to feel that connection through story selling, right? Because stories bypass the cognitive area. It bypasses the prefrontal cortex, and it speaks to the limbic system, which is the emotional triggers that really, and sales are 90% emotional driven, right? And then it's when people purchase, they justify it with logic, but majority of the buying decision is emotional. It's because they feel like buying. And so when you speak with stories, it invokes emotions. And so I'm telling you, when you master this, you'll know what to say, why you're saying it, like how to say it. And this is what is key to really being able to connect with your audience. And through stories, there's always a covert and an overt meaning. So even though you're saying a story, people see themselves in your story. They don't even realize that they're being sold to, right? You're painting an identity in them. You understand? So it's really important to understand story selling. And this is what you'll master inside of the Business by Belief Accelerator. This is what I help my clients to do inside of my coaching program. And so that was the A, assignment over approval. We're going to jump into the F. And so the F is faith over familiar. You got to have faith. You got to have faith. The first time I heard the Lord speak, and this is why I always say it after every video, when I was first, getting close to the Lord and like really gave my life to Christ in 2019. And the first time I ever realized that I can hear the Lord, this is what he told me he literally said, put one foot in front of the other and step out on faith. And so it's so important for you to leave the familiar, just like Abraham did. When I was uprooting my entire life and moving across the country, leaving my career behind and going full-time in my business, this is what the Lord had brought me to. It was Hebrews 11, I think it's Hebrews 11 verse 6, when he told Abraham to leave the familiar, right? Hebrews 11 is the hall of faith. And so that's the scripture that the Lord reminded me of when he called Abraham. Abraham went, even when he didn't even know where he was going yet. And that is the faith that you need to have, leaving the familiar behind and stepping into faith, stepping into all that God has for you. And God can't multiply what you refuse to move on. If you refuse to move, God can't multiply it. And so it's really important that you take the step of faith and trust God and know that he's going to see you through. If God gave you the vision, if you know that your life is aligned, if you align your will with God's will, he's giving you a desire on your heart, you can trust that desire and know that God is going to see you through because he's a faithful Father. And so you can continue to pray for increase all you want, but if you're still clinging to your comfort routine and just clinging to just the everyday cycle of life, it's easy to do that. It's familiar to do that because your brain just wants to keep you safe. Your brain wants to stay in the familiar because it's doing its job. And so, you're saying, you're passing it off like, okay, someday, I'm going to do this. Someday I'm going to go full time. But no, you have to make a decision and you got to stay 10 toes down on that decision and really reverse engineer backwards, right? So inside of my coaching program, the first call that I do with my clients is called the revenue roadmap, right? It's called the revenue resignation roadmap. And this is where we really look at what your monthly income goals are for the duration of the coaching container. And we reverse engineer it from there, right? So if your goal is to make consistent 10K months before transitioning into coaching full time, we know, okay, what is your offer going to be? How many sales would you need to accumulate a month, right? What are your daily tasks going to look like, right? And really getting to the nitty gritty and crunching the numbers so that you can have a visual description of like exactly how you're going to tentatively meet that goal, right? And so we know, like, whenever we plan, the Lord can totally maximize it. You hold the plan loosely, but it's good to really have, write the vision, make it plain, write the vision, make it plain so that you have a clear pathway of how you plan to pursue it, but trust God and know that he'll do exceedingly and abundantly even more than you could ever even ask or think, right? And so you need to do is you need to have a simplified sales funnel, right? And so you have to show up in faith. You have to create that signature. You have to create the simplified sales funnel that's going to sell your signature offer. All right. And so all roads lead to this signature offer. Okay. It's the eagle effect. Everything's leading back to the signature offer. And so you need a simplified sales funnel that works around your 9 to 5 so you can grow your income in faith, not fear. right? When you have the clarity, when you have the blueprint, you can now work from that. Okay, so clients will be applying even while you're at work, even while you're on the clock. Clients are applying to work with you, proving that obedience brings overflow. So it's putting yourself out there and really marketing your business, showing up, building your business on the side, and then you'll be able to transition into coaching full time when you're selling a premium offer to your clients and you set up a simple sales funnel so that your sales are coming in, they're generating consistently, right? And you got to make sure that it's simplified. Simplicity scales, complexity fails. And so if your sales funnel is all over the place and you have no idea like where you're leading your clients, you don't have a solid top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel, you're putting off these random one-off offers, your sales are going to look crazy, right? If you're confused, your audience is confused, your money's confused. And so it's really important to create a simplified sales funnel. And I help you to do that inside of my coaching community, right? Inside of my coaching program, Business by Belief. And so that is the F, faith over familiar. We're going to move on to the E. And so the E in this acronym, the final letter is expansion over excuses. So every excuse delays your destiny, all right? Every excuse delays your destiny. And I actually did a video about this yesterday. Yesterday's episode of the Daily Dose, we were speaking about how when you delay, you pay. I would suggest you watch that. It was so fire. But it's really important that you understand no excuses, because those excuses are delaying your destiny, right? And so you're telling yourself, like, I don't have time, right? Or I don't know what to say. Oftentimes when you're saying that, it's really a nervous system response. It really is. You do know what to say, but you just have to, get out of your head and into your heart. This is a strategy that I use because you have to have a soul to soul strategic strategy to connect with your audience, right? It's not so much, it's only 5% strategy, but majority, 95% of it is your mind, your will, and your emotion. That is your soul. That's a soul connection. I know what to say to my clients. I know what to say when I'm showing up. It's not hard because I've lived it. And now I'm on the other side. And so I know what it's like. I know that tension between wanting that paycheck consistently, relying on the security of that paycheck, and having your body feel so nervous. I remember my last day of work, when I clocked out of work that last day and I was driving home, I cried the entire way because I was happy that I did it, but then I was like, oh my God, what did I do? And so I know the tension so well, but trust me, I have no regrets. Yes, I'm not going to say business is like peaches and cream, because let me tell you, entrepreneurship is it's like personal development 10 times, 10x, right? It's like you constantly have to have self-trust. It develops you on such a level, right? It really develops you on such a level. God has to truly call you to this. This truly has to be your purpose work. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything because it's the truth, right? You got to know like you and God is in this, but it's beautiful and it's so worth it. It is so worth it. So worth it. I have no regrets at all. And so I really want you to understand that it really takes your body feeling safe. And this is why I was, crying, because my body was nervous. My body was anxious. It was like, wait, did I make the right decision? Right? Even though I knew God was calling me to do it, of course, your body's going to react, right? But when you're able to uproot subconscious belief blocks and regulate your nervous system, you'll begin to show up even when it feels uncomfortable. But you have to know the strategy. As a registered nurse turned business coach, I'm able to use my gifts, my nursing skills, my gift of healing to really be able to pinpoint and identify subconscious belief blocks. So things that you don't even realize you're thinking. You don't even realize it because it's below the conscious level of awareness. And so this is why I have tools, my root system to really help you to uproot anything hidden there. We're going to get to the root of it and we're going to uproot it, right? And then in the process, we're going to regulate your nervous system so you feel comfortable, you feel safe showing up, because your business will only grow to the extent of your belief system and your body safety, right? So once you learn to do this, once you are able to really do this on a regular basis, because we have approximately 70,000 thoughts per day. And 90% of them are repetitive and 80% of them are negative. And so you want to make sure that you are taking thoughts captive, just as the Bible tells us to do. And so this is why, if you don't take these thoughts captive, they're going to live rent free in your brain. And then you're going to continue to be in a cycle, right? It's like, okay, consciously, I want to go full time. All right, let me show up and market my business. But then you go to go live, or you go to post the content, and you're so worried about people's opinions. You're so worried about like you have a hidden fear of rejection, or a fear of failure, or a fear of added pressure, stress, responsibility. And so subconsciously you're like, your body's like, nope, your automatic nervous system pops in and you end up in fight response, flight response, freeze response, or fawn response. And so this is why it's important to regulate your nervous system in real time. And we do that with my safe protocol inside of my coaching community. And so this is what I walk my clients through, because yes, I'm giving you the blueprint. I'm giving you that 5% strategy, but I'm telling you, you're not going to do the strategy if you do not have the belief system and the body safety to act on it. Because your subconscious mind is responsible for 95% of your actions. So even when you plan to do something, you'll have a to-do list full. But if your body is not regulated, and if your belief system behind each task isn't aligned, you will continue to procrastinate. And procrastination is really just a symptom of the true core problem, which is uprooted. This is the work that we do. This is why it's called Business by Belief, because your business will only grow to the extent of your belief system and your body safety. All right. So once you do this work to uproot these belief blocks and regulate your nervous system, I'm telling you, you're going to be able to maneuver through the uncomfortability, and you'll move from making a bunch of excuses to making an enormous impact, right? So you're going to go from making a bunch of excuses to really being expansive, right? And so that's the E, expansion over excuses. Once you do this work, I'm telling you, you are not going to be able to recognize yourself after 6 months. You won't. Okay. And so inside of the Business by Belief Accelerator, I help you to transition into coaching full time without chasing clients, fighting the algorithm, without self-sabotaging, or without sacrificing time with your family. So I am going to invite you to apply for the Business by Belief Accelerator. The link to apply is in the description below. And so I would really recommend that you jump in if you want to transition into coaching full time. And you want the assistance to really be able to create your compelling offer, create converting messaging, and create consistent sales. Because no matter what your business is, you need a compelling offer. You want to offer that people are like, oh my gosh, where have you been? Like, you just answered my prayers. Like, I was just praying for this last night. You want that offer to be something that your clients love and that you love to deliver. And so that's the first step. You want to then create the marketing for that offer, for that said offer. You want a marketing that story-selling marketing that converts, right? And then you want a simplified sales funnel so that you're getting consistent sales coming in. And so this is how you transition into coaching full time. You have to feel safe, all right? Successfully transition, you have to feel safe. And so the S is surrender over security. The A is assignment over approval. The F is faith over familiar, and the E is expansion over excuses. All right. And so that is how you do it. That is how you do it. This is how you go full time. All right. And so I pray that this video has been a blessing to you. I'm going to tell you, just as God told me, put one foot in front of the other, step out on faith, and trust God for the next step. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.